Hello everyone, today we are going to learn about phonetics and phonology, morphology, and then syntax. First, let's get to know what is phonetics and phonology, but we are going to talk about phonetic first. Phonetic refers to the study of speech and sounds. So basically, in this field of study, you're going to study how sounds are made and how are we going to say certain words, because not all words are read as the same as it looks. So in phonetics, it has three branches. They are articulatory and then acoustic. The last one is auditory. So in articulatory, it describes speech sounds in terms of the way how people produce it. So in articulatory, it depends on how people make the sounds. Basically, it is related to how the air travels through vocal cords and produce sounds. However, it is more complicated than it is seen because articulatory does not only include vocal cords and air, but it includes all parts in mouth and nose. So speaking in English, trying to pronounce certain words, it relates to your mouth, it relates to your nose as well, because we are using vocal cords, mouth and nose, just like I've said before, to produce certain sound, because without those three, you cannot produce the sounds. So when you produce sounds out of your mouth, those sounds are produced within a complex process of your articulatory organs. Second one is the acoustic branch. So acoustic deals with things around us when sounds are produced. In acoustic branch, sounds are described as waves that travel through the air. So basically, when I speak to someone, the sound that I produced are traveling through the air. It moves as waves of sounds. You cannot see it, you cannot feel it, but it is there as waves of sound. It's similar to radio wave. Yeah, it's similar to radio wave when you cannot see it, you cannot feel it, but you know it is traveling through the air. And then also, the things around you also affect how these sounds are going to be produced. When you are in a room with a soft material, those sounds will be a little bit muffled. And then when you are outside of the room, and then when someone is speaking in that room, you cannot hear what the person is saying because it is muffled. But it is different when you are talking loudly in a room. It is vacant, then it will be very loud, it will be echoing. And then when someone else, or if you are outside and then someone is speaking in that room, and you can hear it clearly because it has no soft material that will block the sounds. The last one is auditory. So auditory is very related to how human receives sounds with their ears. The better hearing you have, the better for you to understand when someone is speaking. Because when you have a bad hearing, you cannot hear it clearly, right? So in terms of learning, auditory and articulatory and an acoustic, three of them are connected to each other, because if you want to learn how to pronounce certain words, you have to know how to pronounce it correctly, especially in articulatory, because it relates to your articulatory organs. And then if you good at controlling it, it means that you can pronounce certain words, or the words correctly. And then, but when someone is not good with their articulatory organs, they cannot really pronounce the word correctly, because in English, not all words are pronounced the same. I mean how the words are made up. the alphabet. But here we are not talking about the alphabet. We are going to talk about something else that it is used widely in the world, especially for English speakers when it comes to learning phonetics and phonology. As I was saying, when we are studying about phonetics, we do not talk about the alphabet we learn in primary school. The reason is because the alphabet does not represent the same sound when it is placed to form different words. For example, the words he and pet have the same vowel E, but they are pronounced as two different sounds. In the word he, the E here is pronounced as E, but in the word pet, the E here is pronounced as E, pet. Therefore, instead of looking at the alphabet, phonetics looks at phonetic alphabet. It has its own phonetic alphabet. In this way, we are able to see which pronunciation is correct from each word in English. To make sure you are pronouncing a word correctly, it is suggested to see its phonetic transcription from dictionary. You can use the physical dictionary or the digital one in internet. I think it is better to use the digital one because it provides you the sounds. It will provide you the tutorial how you are going to pronounce the word. At first, you may not be able to pronounce the phonetic alphabet correctly because it seems a bit weird, and then it's not like widely known because it is not taught in regular school. In that case, we have to move to phonology to observe this deeper. So remember, in phonetics, we do not use the alphabet that we learn in primary school, but we are going to use phonetic alphabet instead. Phonology. So what is phonology? Phonology is the branch of linguistics that studies how language systematically organize their speech sounds and signs. Phonology examines the rules and patterns governing the sounds used in a language. So in phonology, there is something that is called as a phoneme. Phoneme is an abstract minimal sound unit. Phonemes can be a lot, so that's why I'm using the plural one here. Phonemes can be conveyed as the P in the word pen, or it can be conveyed individually as P, E, and N. So, phonemes are capable of conveying a distinct meaning, but phonemes themselves, they don't have meaning. They do not have meaning because it's just a sound, just one sound. But when we combine them together, words can be created. So, like I've mentioned before, phoneme doesn't have sounds. Each phoneme is pronounced differently. That's why they don't have the meaning yet, because they need to be attached to each other to have meaning. For example, like the word before, pen, the word pen is combined by the phonemes p, and n, pen, creating different sounds. So p, and n are different, right? But when we attach those sounds together, we have pen. So the second part that we are going to discuss is morphology. Morphology is the study of morphemes and words. In morphology, word can be used in different ways. Word can be seen as the vocabulary entries, the inflected words, and the words that are made up from two words. So we are going to discuss them one by one. The first one, the vocabulary entries. So vocabulary entries has the same meaning as the word as it is. For example, if I put the word right there, So that is the vocabulary entries. The second, inflected words. Inflected words means that the word has been inflected with inflections like suffix or mostly they are suffix. So for the example, the word write has the inflected words writes, writing, wrote, and written. So they all have different uses in different situations, but they still have the same meaning. The third one is the words that are made up from two words. For example, haircut and high school. But haircut here is it has no space in between, but high school here it has space in between. So in order to avoid this misunderstanding, Morphology has the right terms to separate those problems. There are lexeme, syntactic word, and orthographic word. First one, lexeme. So lexeme is a unit in lexicon, or it is the vocabulary entries, like I have mentioned. However, to differentiate lexeme with syntactic or orthographic, we write the word in uppercase. So, as you can see there, the word write is written in uppercase. All letters must be in uppercase. This lexeme, write, is the fundamental to the word write, writes, writing, wrote, and written. So you must be wondering why the write here there is the lowercase one, and then there is the uppercase one. Like I've said, in lexeme, to differentiate the lexeme with syntactic and orthographic, we have to write it in uppercase. Now, the reason of write the lowercase one is still there will be discussed in syntactic. In syntactic, on the other hand, refers to the variant of lexeme. So, I have mentioned that write with no inflection is also the part of syntactic, but the write with uppercase, all letters in uppercase is a lexeme. Syntactic word can be inflected or not, so that's the reason why write here is a variant of the lexeme write. That includes the other writes, writing, wrote, and written. The last one, orthographic word, refers to a word that is made up from two words. For example, haircut and high school. In orthographic, we have three kinds of orthographic word, or it is well known as compound words. So haircut here is the closed compound word, but high school is the open compound words. We still have one. It is the hyphenated word. It means that the word is in the space there. It is put a hyphen. So it uses the hyphen to separate two words. For example, well known. So in morphology, we are going to learn about morphemes as well. Morpheme refers to how a word is constructed, and it is the smallest unit of meaning. So when in phonetic we have phoneme that doesn't have meaning, in morphology we have morphemes that have meanings. So basically all words are composed of one or more morphemes. For example, human is a person, a mortal. But when we add the suffix ity, so the suffix ity here is to form abstract nouns expressing state, condition, or quality. It creates humanity. That means the quality or the state of being human. The suffix ity here is a morpheme, so does the human. But the suffix ity here doesn't have meaning, but the human does have a meaning. Morphemes are divided into two types, free morpheme and bound morpheme. Free morpheme is the base which affixes can attach to, means it can stand alone, such as the word human, like in the previous example. But bound morpheme means it cannot stand alone and must be attached to another morpheme. For example, we add ity to human, it becomes humanity. So the free morpheme here is the human, and then the bound morpheme here is the suffix ity, because human has its own meaning, but the suffix ity, it doesn't have any meaning at all before we attach it to another word. In that case, a morpheme can change word meaning, or it cannot change the word meaning. These types of morphemes are called as derivational and inflectional morphemes. Let's start with inflectional morphemes, or inflection. So inflection can only be suffixes, and then it will not change the word meaning or the word classes. For example, the word human is inflected by the suffix s. The word meaning will still be the same as before, a person, a mortal, but when I add the suffix s there, it becomes the plural form of the noun. So the quantity of the word is changed, of the form is changed. Human is a single person. Humans are more than one persons. The second one is the derivational morphemes. On the other hand, this morpheme can change the word meaning or word classes. Derivational morpheme can be both suffix and prefix. For example, we take the free morpheme friend and add the suffix ship. It becomes friendship, and it changed the meaning, right? Here it changed the meaning. It doesn't change the word classes yet. And then still with the same morpheme, if we add the prefix un, it becomes unfriend, and it changes the word classes from noun to verb. So unfriend means that you are not being friend with a certain person anymore, but friend here is person that is close to you. It has meaning, it has a different meaning. Lastly, before we move into the last topic, in morpheme, there is a term called as stem. We are going to discuss about stem, and I will give you the examples of it. Stem refers to the part of a word that remains if the suffix or prefix is removed. To remove the suffix and prefix and get the stem of the word, we must remove the affixes that will keep the word classes as same as before first. Unless it does not have any, then we can change it into another word classes. For the example, I will give you a word unbrokenness there. So the stem of unbrokenness is brokenness. They are still the part of classes noun, but as you can see there, ness here is to change a word into a noun, right? So there is no more affixes that we can take and then still change it into word. So the stem of brokenness here is broken. Broken here is an adjective. The last topic for this video is syntax. Syntax is quite complicated, so I hope that you pay close attention. What is syntax? Syntax is the study of sentence structure, in which sentences are not made up from just a word, but more than one word, or they are known as phrases. So I will give you an example of a sentence. Kenny buys some apples. In syntax, we're going to observe about the part of the sentence. We have phrases, and then we have the part of speech. So Kenny and some apples here are the noun phrases. Meanwhile, buys as the verb phrases. Don't get me wrong, in syntax, a word can be called a phrase. So buys here, or the root word buy, is also a verb phrase if we study in syntax. In the most significant thing that we must learn in syntax is the tree diagram. So without tree diagram, syntax is not syntax. In order to make tree diagram, firstly, the beginning thing that you have to learn, you have to know is the word classes and some of the abbreviations that are going to be used in syntax. So let's take a look. What are the abbreviations? So we have the first one, set as sentence. Yeah, as sentence, the sentence that you are going to observe. And then we have noun phrase, NP. NP is the abbreviations of noun phrase. And then the third one, verb phrase, or FP. Moving on to the word classes as well as the abbreviations, we have N as noun, V as verb, ADJ as adjective, ADV as adverb. And then in addition to the syntax, we have PP, the prepositional phrase. So in prepositional phrase, it will have noun phrase and it will also have preposition. In that case, P is the short of preposition, or you can write prep to say preposition in the tree diagram. The next one is that, D-E-T, that is the determiner. The last one is ADV, P, ADV, uppercase P, adverbial phrase. Now we are going to learn all of these in some sentences that I will provide you later in the video. Then we are going to learn how to make the tree diagram correct. The first sentence is Alice is a student. Now how are we going to divide this sentence and how are we going to make it as the tree diagram? So first, you have to write as. As means the sentence. So the sentence is divided into two constituents. Remember, you have to divide the phrases, each part of the sentences correctly. Just separate them from the biggest one to the smallest one. So here we have Alice and is the student. They are divided into two parts. So Alice here is the NP, the noun, and then the is a student, the phrase is VP, and the verb phrase. Now as you can see there in the picture, Alice is a noun from noun phrase, and then is a student is divided again into more parts. Let's take a look at the biggest one first, the V and NP there. So is a student is divided as V and NP. Is here is not as an auxiliary verb because it doesn't. This sentence doesn't have the main verb. So automatically, the is here becomes the verb, and then NP, a student, is a noun phrase, right? Now the noun phrase here is divided again into two parts, the determiner and the noun student. Determiner A or a, and then the student as the noun. So when you are asked how many constituents are in this sentence, they are 4 constituents. But remember, at the beginning you have to divide them into two constituent verbs, the NP and then the VP. Okay? Now let's move on to the second sentence. This time, as you can see there And then there is crying. We have the auxiliary verb now. But remember to put auxiliary verb in syntax tree diagram, you have to see if the sentence has the main verb or not. Now let's break down the sentence. Remember, divide them into two constituents. So the first constituent here is the NP. The NP here has a lot more parts than the sentence before. Alice is a student. Now the smart student is crying. From the NP, the smart student here is the NP, the noun phrase. The is crying here is the verb phrase. So the NP is divided into three parts: the determiner, adjective, and noun. Determiner the, adjective smart, and the noun student. In VP, the verb phrase, we have auxiliary verb is, because the smart student is only one person, and then the main verb crying. So here is an example of the use of auxiliary verb in syntax diagram 3. Remember that if the sentence doesn't have main verb, the auxiliary here automatically becomes the verb in this tree diagram. We have the simple sentences before. Now let's take a look at a bit more complicated sentence. So here, sentence, a boy in white shirt is her boyfriend. It seems like it is very hard to divide, but remember, divide this sentence into two constituents first. So the first constituent, the noun phrase, is a boy in white shirt. Now why the boy in the white shirt is the part of the NP, the noun phrase? The reason is in white shirt indicates that the boy is wearing the white shirt. Instead of using is wearing, we use in white shirt. So basically means that the boy is in the white shirt. The boy is wearing the white shirt. And then the verb phrase is her boyfriend. Is her boyfriend. It's kind of complicated to say. So let's take a look at the NP first. The NP is divided into three parts. They are determiner, noun, and then PP, prepositional phrase. Why this in white shirt is in the prepositional phrase? Because it has the word in its preposition. So PP here, you have to divide it into two parts again. In, the P, is the prepositional, and then white shirt is the noun phrase, the NP. Remember that I have said that we have to divide this part, the constituent, from the biggest to the smallest one. We have to break it down one by one until everything in the sentence is only one part, one constituent. So the NP here consists of adjective, white, and then the noun shirt. Moving on to the verb phrase, remember we don't have the main verb here, so the is here is automatically the verb of this sentence. And then her boyfriend is a noun phrase. It consists of determiner her, the possessive pronoun, and then the noun boyfriend. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 constituents in total for this sentence. Okay, we are going to move to a more complicated. I'm adding a little bit complicated sentence here. So remember, two parts. My mother goes to the market every Sunday. So we divide it as my mother first, and then goes to the market every Sunday into the verb phrase. So my mother is the noun phrase, and then goes to the market every Sunday is the verb phrase. The noun phrase is divided into two parts, two constituents, the determiner, my, and then the noun, mother. Now, as you can see there in the picture, the verb phrase here has the most part, has the most constituent there. So Goes here is obviously the verb of the sentence, goes. And then to the market, remember, to the market. To is a prepositional, so that's why to the market is the prepositional phrase. So prepositional phrase here is divided into two. The prepositional to, and then the NP, noun phrase, as well. Non-P and P in the prepositional phrase here is divided into two parts as well. The determiner, the, and then the noun market. Now, the third one in the verb phrase is the NP, the noun phrase, every Sunday. Now, why every Sunday here is connected to the VP, not to the PP? Remember, every Sunday here affects the activity that happens. So my mother, the mother there, goes to the market every Sunday. So the activity goes to the market is done every Sunday. So it has nothing to do with to the market. So that's why it goes to the VP part. Every Sunday is a noun phrase. The noun phrase here, every Sunday, is divided into two parts again. The determiner and then the noun. Determiner every and then the noun Sunday. So there we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 constituents again in this sentence. The last one is a bit simple, but as you can see there, we have the new one, adverbial phrase, like I've mentioned before. So remember, divide into two constituents, noun phrase and verb phrase. The noun phrase I, and then the verb phrase came home late. So the noun phrase consists of pronoun I, the pronoun I. As you can see there, the verb phrase has the most of constituent again, came home late. So the came home late here is divided into three parts, three constituents. So the verb phrase has three constituents. Came here is the verb, the second form of come. And then home here is an adverbial phrase. And then you can, as you can see, draw a line, just one more line, and then add the adverb home, because home refers to the one's place to live. And then late is an adverb as well, but it is not adverbial phrase. It's just an adverb. It describes how the activity came home is done. So the person here, I, came home late. We've come to the last part of this video. We have discussed about phonetics and phonology, morphology, and then the last one is syntax. Well, I guess in this video, the most complicated one to learn is the syntax, because it includes many parts of linguistics. We have to learn about the word classes, we have to know about the abbreviation that I gave before. So with that, you can draw the tree diagrams. But eventually you will get it if you keep learning and keep practicing. I think that is all from me. I'm sorry if I have done any mistake in pronunciation or anything wrong in this video, but thank you for paying attention. See you next time.